My question is to the Premier. Mr Premier, could you please update the House about the significant savings that first home buyers will be able to access from Saturday in New South Wales?
Premier.
Mr Speaker, a surprising question, but a welcome one. And one that we need to confront in New South Wales. I'm proud to report to the House, Mr Speaker, that in New South Wales, under the Labor government's changes and massive tax cut for first home buyers, 5 out of 6 first home buyers will receive a massive tax cut on their stamp duty when they purchase a property in New South Wales. So to put this in perspective, Mr Speaker, for those who purchase a property up to $800,000 as a first home, they'll pay no stamp duty at all, and a reduced amount between $800,000 and $1 million in New South Wales, which is the equivalent of 5 out of 6 first home buyers in New South Wales. Mr Speaker, 27,000 first home buyers this year will benefit under the scheme, and the scheme begins this Saturday. I think it's important to note, Mr Speaker, that this system replaces the Land Tax Forever scheme that the previous government was attempting to impose on young people in New South Wales, a scheme that would see them pay land tax to the New South Wales government forever and a day. And as we all know, the value of that property says it's their choice. Well, I would much rather people pay no stamp duty at all rather than a land tax forever, which was the previous government's policy. It's important to note, Mr Speaker, that interestingly, under the previous government's plan, houses between $1 million and $1.5 million were eligible for the tax benefit arrangements. Now, ours stop at $1 million, but it's important to note that 5 out of 6 properties for first home buyers are under $1 million. So their scheme went up to $1.5 million. Now, only 13% of properties for first home buyers are in that pay range, and yet they were about to receive a full 50% of the tax benefit as a result of these changes. So far from being a scheme that would allow first home buyers entry into the housing market in New South Wales, this benefited those that could purchase their first property for $1.3, $1.4 or $1.5 million. The people that with language, of course, are first home buyers, particularly those that were purchasing a first home for below $800,000. And let me tell you the savings for first home buyers in New South Wales across New South Wales. For the median house price in Badgerys Creek, the amount saved for a first home buyer under Labor's scheme is $17,000. In the electorate of Bega, for the median house price, the amount saved is $22,000 in New South Wales. Macquarie Fields, Mr Speaker, the Minister, the member for Macquarie Fields, the average that will be saved for the median house price for a first home buyer.
Member for Penrith.
More information about the savings.
I think the member for Penrith, I'll just ask everybody to come to order. There's about 5 conversations going on over this side, there's a couple over this side, and I'd just like a little bit more silence in the room. I shall give an additional 2 minutes for further information.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. For Macquarie Fields, the median house price, the saving for a first home buyer is $26,000 beginning this Saturday, and it goes to that principle. I mean, it's really interesting to note that the vast majority of first home buyers for properties under $800,000 are in regional New South Wales. But the biggest proponents of the land tax forever on first home buyers were the National Party, Mr Speaker. And I think it's important to know that just 16% of first home buyers using the Liberal scheme lived in regional New South Wales. Just 16%, which makes it curious as to why they opposed Labor's scheme and attempted to keep the existing tax benefit arrangements in place for regional New South Wales. Just 16%, which tells you everything you need to know about the National Party in New South Wales's priorities. Mr Speaker, this was a good initiative. It was passed by this Parliament and then passed in the upper house as well, against the objections of the Liberals and Nationals. It was the #1 priority of the recently inaugurated opposition, and yet they failed. And they failed. Their failure is a good thing for New South Wales, but I'd encourage all members to bring your ideas to this parliament. It's a hung parliament and we're keen to hear your initiatives to make this state great. We've heard from the member for Sydney about his potential proposals. We've heard from the Liberal Party about their proposals, that mainly in the form of a podcast presented by the member for Wahroonga. But if you want to know what life's like as a backbencher in the Legislative Council, there's no finer podcast.
Premier.